Well, first up, prices of bread rose to about 41.3% year-on-year as the highest price of goods recorded in the food basket measured by the Ghana Statistical Service. This is followed by trotro and taxi fares, which also made up the top 10 list of goods and services that registered inflation rates higher than the national average. Government statistician Professor Samuel Kwabena has been telling us more.
Identify the top 10 items that have the highest weight in the basket for the computation of CPI and rate of inflation. And of these 10 items, the item that recorded the highest rate of inflation for the month of May 2022 was bread with an inflation rate of 41.3%, followed by bus and trotro fares, which has the highest weight of 5.8%, recording a year-on-year inflation of 39.9%. From the perspective of households in terms of decision-making, discounting the effect of weight, we still saw diesel and petrol being part of the top 5 items that recorded the highest rate of inflation, specifically 81.1% and 62.0%. Thank you very much.
So that was the government statistician, Professor Samuel Kwabena, who addressed the press yesterday. The inflation rate of 27.6% in May represents an increase of 4% from April, and chances are that items you bought in April may have increased by 4% in May. Joining me on Zoom to discuss this is Chief Executive of online grocery shop Market Express GH, Ebenezer Latte. Hopefully, I would have Magdalena Hetoinin, also CEO of Bread Embassy, joining the conversation to discuss this. Good to have you on the program, Ebenezer. It's got to be tough operating a grocery shop now. I know some of the things you sell are imported, some are sourced locally. Tell us how prices have increased over time.
Thanks for the question, Daryl. The increases are difficult to have a hold on, but we keep going. We keep going.
Okay, and so which items are we seeing prices go up on most, Ebenezer?
So there are no items that are spared with these increases. The increases are on everything. So there's no much you can do. The increases are on everything. However, I feel like there are things that we can do as a country and maybe the government needs to look at. But some of them are internally generated, and I'm not discounting the fact of the impact of global situations, but there are some of the things that we've basically self-inflicted.
Okay, and I guess the difficulty for you is how do you price the items so you're not running at a loss and at the same time ensuring that your items are relatively cheaper compared to your competitors?
All right, so Daryl, the first thing I want to say, when I say self-inflicted, this is what I mean. Taxation has been one of the biggest contributor to the current inflation in 2022. And if you look at how the taxation was changed for retail and wholesale distribution, these are the entities that basically carry out consumables. And you have a situation where in the past, the taxation was just a 4% flat rate. Present, what you have is that you have a 6% flat rate plus your input and output, which is like an extra 2.5%. So no business can actually sell at a margin of less than 10%. It is impossible. So some of the inflation I feel is created by policy. It's not created by people just wanting to jack up prices. But if you sell anything below 10%, you'll be working for the taxman, you know. So that's where I feel like we have inflicted this thing on ourselves, especially the part of the taxation that refers to the flat rate. And then the second thing is also the taxation brackets. I mean, any business that does revenue of above 500,000 is in the, well, not 500,000, 200,000 comes into that standard tax bracket. These are small traders, or if you look at the Canadian market, for example, somebody buys maybe 100,000 worth of goods. Their margin is like 5%. And they do that 10 times, they become a business. And so they are categorized in the standard rate taxation. What do you expect? This will definitely cause inflation. And so in as much as I'm looking at the general inflation in the market, I'm also looking at the general inflation. There are some parts that you can't do anything about. Fuel-related, COVID-related, Russia-related, you can't do anything about. But the ones that we have created for ourselves, and we are all suffering for it because of tax policy, that's what I'm concerned about.
Give us an idea how that is also impacting on your cost of operations or cost of doing business.
Basically, everything is out of gear. So you either have a choice. Either you keep going with your reserves, or you have to at some point say, I'm done. I think I need a break from here. You can't plan. You really can't plan anything. You can't forecast 6 months ahead. You can't forecast 3 months ahead. You can't do anything, you know. And so it takes companies that have built strong reserves to keep going, you know, because hopefully some solution will come along the way. But you just hope that it will not be a situation where you cannot fight. And so it's a difficult time for businesses, to be honest.
And Ebenezer, we need food anyway, so people have no choice than to buy. Do you get the impression that customers are beginning to readjust their budgets?
Yes. So people, I don't agree that people have no choice than to buy. People have choices. You know, people decide to scale down. You know, people decide that they may ration how they buy certain things, which will also affect the economy, because once the activity in the market is low, you would have a situation where either the inflation rate will go up or the economy will slow down. You know, so people have choices to make. Like, people will choose things that in the past they were not happy to do, but they will have to do it. Human beings are prudent and wise. You know, so I've heard people argue that there are good alternatives for bread and things like that. That's true. People haven't acquired the taste for it. But if the challenge is enormous, over time, people will acquire the challenge for what they don't want and get used to it.
There's something, or a word that is going around right now called shrinkflation, where we understand that, well, instead of, raising prices, people are rather shrinking the size of their products. So maybe, for instance, for bread, instead of maybe increasing the price of bread, they'd rather shrink the size and maintain the price. Is there something like that going on here in Ghana?
Exactly. Actually, it's not a new strategy. It's always been. You know, it's always been. There are businesses that used to make 1 liter size products. Now they are doing 900 milligrams. And soon they will go down to 800. It's expected because people's disposable income is not also growing. So when you increase the price, then they don't buy at all. But if you can give them something to play with, they will take it. And so I think that it's a normal thing. We've seen big companies like Coca-Cola and the rest do that in emerging markets, where they repackage the products differently. You know, so I think that's a more entrepreneurial strategy to overcome the challenge versus a shrinkflation culture. It's circumstantial.
I'll come back to you for your final thoughts on how you think that as a country we can deal with this. Do we have Magdalene on? Okay, we're trying to get Magdalene on, so maybe you can answer that right away. How you think that as a country we can deal with this issue of inflation and ensure that, you know, businesses like you are able to survive these times, Ebenezer?
So I think that we need to encourage local production. And I say that because we know that things that we produce here, we have some control over. And so in some countries, they are incentivizing their local entities. So we talked about bread, and I think CSR has done a very good paper or research into the use of cassava. And if I were the government, since bread is the most important ingredient in our food basket, if we can encourage, we can support a factory to produce at mass cassava flour. I'm sure that's one of those things that will save us from the hardship of the inflation. And this is a commodity that we have too much of, and we don't even consume 40% of what we produce. And so there are these opportunities there. And sometimes government can challenge people to change their acquired taste, and I expect that maybe Ministry of Agri will look at some of those things to ensure that I didn't know that Ghana was that dependent on Ukraine until this.
I think most of us realized it after the war started.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ebenezer Lartey, Chief Executive of Market Express GH. Good to see you this afternoon. I appreciate your time. Well, still on the subject of inflation, the insurance and financial sectors have seen slower inflation year-on-year, recording monthly rate of 3.1%. Now, according to government statistician Professor Samuel Kobnenim, this is the only sector among the 12 groups in the component that recorded the lowest rate of inflation. This could mean that the country's financial and insurance sectors are not significantly impacted by growing inflation. Here's the government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobnenim.
Disaggregating year-on-year inflation from the 13 divisions point of view, we saw transport recording the highest rate of inflation of 39.0%, followed by housing, equipment and maintenance, 33.8%. Housing, water, electricity and gas came third, 32.3%, and food and non-alcoholic beverages, 30.1%. All these four divisions recorded inflation rates higher than the national average of 27.6%. The division that recorded the least rate of inflation for the month of May 2022 was insurance and financial services, with an inflation rate of 3.1%. And it is the only division that recorded an inflation rate lower than the rolling average for the period June 2021 to May 2022. All 12 items recorded higher rates of inflation relative to the average for the period June 2021 to May 2022.
Well, away from inflation, the number of jobs advertised in selected print and online media, which partially gauges labor demand in the economy, decreased marginally in April 2022 compared to the same period last year. We want to show you some information from the Bank of Ghana. According to the Bank of Ghana's latest monetary policy report, 2,777 job adverts were recorded as compared to over 2,800 for the same period in 2021. Now, this indicates a marginal decline of 1% year-on-year. On a month-on-month basis, the number of job vacancies in April this year dipped by 3.6% from the 2,882 jobs advertised in March 2022. Now, cumulatively, 11,029 advertised jobs were recorded for the first 4 months of 2022, compared with 11,646 jobs advertised during the same period in 2021. Let's make sense of these numbers. Joining me to discuss this is Blanksin Bedu-Bampong, who is Business Development Coordinator, Audelia Ghana, a human resources advisory firm. And so I spoke with you earlier, Blanksin, and you say this is pretty normal in the first quarter of the year to see a decline in jobs advertised. Why is that?
All right. So, normally companies make their budgets to recruit by December, facing the upcoming year. So let's say, for example, budgets for 2022 will be made in December 2021. So then approval of budgets normally goes through by February or by March. So then by first quarter, most companies don't recruit that much because, first of all, they have not finalized on their budgets and they have not seen the manpower needs that they are going to have. In second quarter, that is when they will start to have their approved budgets and they will know the kind of manpower needs and the budget that they have to be able to pay the salaries of these people they are going to recruit. So normally in the recruitment business, the first quarter is not that booming, but when we enter into the second and the third quarter, that is when we start to have a lot of requests to recruit people.
And we have different circumstances right now. The current economic challenges are having a toll on employers. Inflation, for instance, you mentioned that when we talked. If we continue to experience these factors, do you foresee a further decline in the second quarter?
It could be because now today we have the inflation going up, going up and up. And if you are interviewing people, you are interviewing candidates, they are going to quote a higher salary expectation because they need to earn that much to be able to survive as a young Ghanaian or as an employee. So then if their salary expectation does not fall within the budget of the company will be forced to say, okay, then let's get somebody who is already in here to take up that responsibilities. Then they will not need to recruit a new person, which will cause a decline of the job opportunities that might come in the coming months of the year. So it could really affect if the inflation is going up. Yeah.
And I know that it's pretty difficult for companies right now. They're trying to cut down on cost. And so, and it's also very difficult to get a job these days. So anybody recruiting is looking for somebody who perhaps can multitask, can do several things, and so they don't have to employ so many people. Tell us about that and what other tips you can share with people who are watching right now who are job seekers, how they can have a competitive advantage.
So what I would say is that currently companies are looking for people that can multitask. So as a job seeker, even if as you are not working now, you need to pick up some personal soft skills trainings because we have a lot of free trainings on LinkedIn, on other platforms. So you pick it and you make yourself versatile. Don't make yourself like a one-sided person. I'm only administrative and I can't do anything else. So they need to open their scope of activities. They need to be versatile. And also, when they are going for job interviews, we all know that, we need a lot of money, we need a lot of salary to be able to cope with the current inflation rate. But we believe that the inflation rate will get better. So there should be a little bit minimal on their salary expectation. Get your legs into the company, and I'm sure that if the company see their worth based on their ability to perform a lot of activities, there might be an increase of salary for them as well. So pick up a lot of courses, pick up some soft skills courses to make you versatile. Then when you get into the job interview, try and minimize your salary expectation as well.
And
that's what I'm saying.
Well, based on your experiences, are there any particular jobs that are seeing more recruitment, certain portfolios that companies are seeking?
Yes. It's on what we call the sales and business development part. Because, after COVID, a lot of companies went down. So they are more or less recruiting a lot of sales and business development profiles in order to bring in more inflow of revenue to help the companies to grow. And trust me, a lot of companies set a lot of targets this year because they really had low revenue between the past 2 years, which is 2020 and 2021. So we are currently looking for strong sales profiles and people that can really penetrate markets for companies that are already established in Ghana. So these are the areas that is currently booming. Yeah.
All right, Blackson Bedu-Boampong, he is a business development coordinator of Audelia Ghana, which is an HR recruitment firm. We appreciate your time with us this afternoon. Let's move on now to other stories. The governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, has emphasized the need to have a robust payment and settlement system under the African Continental Free Trade Area. This, he believes, will promote efficiency in regional trade as well as enhance intra-African trade and investment. Speaking at the 2022 Public Forum of the Academy of Arts and Sciences, he entreated central banks on the continent to work collectively in achieving a common goal. Here's more in this report.
This year's public forum was under the theme African Continental Free Trade Area, Challenges and Prospects. According to the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, a common payment system is needed to promote trade activities on the continent. He reiterated the need for central banks across the region to be swift in addressing problems confronting cross-border payment systems.
Indeed, given the right policies, Africa's collective efforts at integrating existing national payment systems could enable African firms to innovate, invest, and create job opportunities. Together with digitalization, an integrated payment system would help Africa foster convergence of institutional frameworks and create a more effective regional financing ecosystem. Additionally, an integrated payment and settlement system will promote efficiency in regional trade by facilitating the smooth flow of payments, underpinning economic activity, and fostering transparency and efficiency in intra-African trade.
Associate Professor at the Economics Department of the University of Ghana, Professor Ebo Texan, called for a collaboration to improve transport corridors within the continent to promote efficient production.
A cross-border infrastructure is any infrastructure that connects two or more countries, as well as national infrastructure that has significant cross-border impacts, such as ports, railways, roads, and airports. Cross-border infrastructure provides economies with greater access to regional and global markets. There is a need for countries within the sub-region to cooperate to improve transport corridors within the continent so that they can take up the opportunities to join regional production networks and supply chains. Because when we're able to connect our firms and businesses to regional production network and supply chains, it promotes efficient production, trade competitiveness, and increases trade flows. It will therefore enable sub-Saharan African countries to narrow their development gap with their richer trading partners.
The African Continental Free Trade Area is an ambitious trade pact to form the world's largest free trade area by connecting almost 1.3 billion people across 54 African countries.
All right, and so our top story on the marketplace has been about the food inflation, the fact that the prices of bread have risen to about 41.3% year-on-year as the highest price of goods recorded in the food basket measured by the Ghana Statistical Service. We heard from the government statistician, Professor Kobne Enim. We're hoping to speak with Magdalene Aheto Ening, who is the chief executive of Bread Embassy. So we're going to try her on Zoom right now and see if we can get to hear from her. Magdalene, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Magdalene? Okay, but I can hear from Magdalene. So we probably would skip that, maybe try another time, unfortunately, because we wanted to understand what is happening in that sector as well, because we know that the country is dependent on wheat imports from Russia, Ukraine, and we know there's a war going on there, and that may have affected the prices when it comes to the cost of producing bread. But another important story we want to bring to you this afternoon: illegal operators in the Forex market have been entreated to desist from such acts. According to the Bank of Ghana, it is not relenting on its efforts to clamp down on their activities. Speaking to Joy Business at a sensitization program for the Ghana Immigration Service on financial literacy, head of the Conduct Supervision Unit, Augustine Donko, urged the Forex market operators to engage the Bank of Ghana to legalize their activities before operating.
Program on financial literacy for the Ghana Immigration Service was to create awareness on banking services, consumer rights and responsibilities. According to Augustine Donko, head of Conduct Supervision Unit at the Bank of Ghana, the central bank is not ready to legalize activities of persons in illegal Forex activities. He explained that the bank is working assiduously to sanitize the financial sector.
We have licensed Forex bureaus to engage in Forex transactions aside the banks that we know do this business. So anybody, any other entity that engages in Forex transactions, that is buying and then selling of foreign exchange without a license, is actually involved in an illegality. The black market, unfortunately, that is what is happening. Bank of Ghana, as at now, does not have any plans of trying to legalize the work that they are doing. No. For now, if anybody wants to deal in Forex, what needs to be done is for a license to be acquired from Bank of Ghana to set up a Forex bureau.
All right, so we have some 2 minutes. I want to bring in Magdalene Aheto Enin, who is CEO of Bread Embassy, to discuss the rising bread prices. Magdalene, just tell us what factors are influencing the price hikes and how you as businesses are going about it around it.
Good afternoon. It's the increment of, it's a high cost of ingredients. High cost of ingredients. The prices are really unbearable now. We can't even buy flour. As of last year, I was buying flour for 192. Flour is 400 cedis now. Margarine, like, we can't even buy anything. So what we are doing is that we are just managing. We are breaking even now, we are breaking even due to the high increase of petrol. It is really destabilizing. When you go, they will tell you they've increased fuel, so it's affecting everything. It's really affecting everything. So all we do is to maintain the quality, but reduce the sizes for our customers.
And has it affected patronage? Everybody eats bread.
Yes,
Everybody wants
yes.
bread. Is that the case?
Yes, everybody eats bread. So let's say Daryl, then he used to buy 4 packs of bread from. Because of the increase, because of the increase of the price, instead of buying 4, you rather
probably buy
buying
1 or 2. Oh, well, that's sad. I love bread, and I don't want to see the prices of bread go up. That's the marketplace. Thanks, Magdalene, for your time. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. We'll see you next time.